The Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to episode 91 of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies. We have a jam-packed show for you today, but let's go ahead and kick off with everybody who's here. Today, your show is hosted by Jack and...
Ryan.
Duncan.
John.
And very special guest...
Mace.
Woo! Mace! All right. All right, we have some stuff that we're going to talk about today, namely the event that Mace ran. How long ago did you run it?
It was just a few weeks ago, the second weekend of July.
Outstanding. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over a contest that is going to finish at episode 99. I believe I said that correctly. Duncan's going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. Duncan?
You're right.
Yay!
You're right.
Yay. But before we do that, we're going to do some station identification.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor, Elric Hobbies, for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HERESYABB at checkout.
And thank you to all of our Patreons. John, you know what to do.
All right, so I've been kind of slacking, so I decided this week to kind of kick on the gas, and so all of those Marines that I've been working on blue for, I went ahead and created all of them. So all 10 tubs of Marines have their red shadows applied with red thinned out India ink. And then once that was done, I worked through and got all of the old field guns that I bought and built for my militia. I've kind of dropped them like 6 or 7 times as I've been moving them around the room, trying to get them out of the way. Because they're kind of useless, I'll be honest with you, after I play tested them after I bought them. And so I got rid of them, so I think I'm just going to try to finish them and put them on the table, or put them at least in the finished bag. So I started putting down spot fillers on those, and that's what I'll be working on as we talk this week. Also managed to get all of the Lehman Russ tanks that I'm going to be using for the Solar Rock primed. So all 10 of those tanks have been black primed. And then got my battle foam ship notification from when I bought some stuff for July 4th, so I can transport all this stuff to the Texas Open. And picked up the meat I'm going to be cooking for the Texas Open. So anyone that shows up, catering will be available. I'm going to do a big pork butt shoulder for the event one of the days. And I might see if I can do something else for a different day, maybe a dessert or something. But that's everything I've got done. Brian, you haven't been on a while. What you been up to?
Brian, are you muted again, brother?
Yeah, I'm muted just in case my kids burst into the room. I've just been playing around, getting some more supplies for the magnet case I got the other day. That's about all I've done as far as hobby goes. I've been talking with a friend of mine that had moved away for college, and he's now moving back to town, actually like 5 minutes from me, so I'm going to try to bring him back into the 30K fold. That's about it. How about you, Duncan?
Oh, since last we recorded, I finished up my Praetor champion dude. Got everything on him done. Got him final seal. Got his base done. Blood's effects done. Yada, yada, yada. So he's done. I got 20 more dudes with their gold trim done on them. These are for my Rampagers. I got another 10 guys ready to roll. They've got their white down. They've got their blue down. I just need to get their golds down. Then I can start going from there with their dark silvers. On the guys who have the 20 guys who had the gold done on, I also got their silvers down on them as well. So they're pretty much just about ready for the spot work that comes before the first sealed and enamel dyeing and all that fun stuff. Beyond that, toyed with ideas for ongoing stuff that I kind of want to get done, but nothing in the final phases of implementation or preparation yet. So I'm gonna go with, hey Jack, what'd you get done?
So John, what's going on in the news today?
Okay, Jack. I'm sorry. So, news-wise, well, actually, Mace, what'd you get done? What'd you been working on the last couple weeks?
My bad.
Oh, wow. The last couple of weeks has been absolutely zero hobby-related activity. The Sunday evening after ATC all wrapped up, my wife went into labor. So I've spent the last 2 weeks, dealing with a newborn and the exciting adventure of being a new dad.
Congratulations. I can kind of understand where that would put a damper in your hobby.
But I do have some projects personally lined up. We moved this past spring, so still trying to get my hobby space kind of set up and organized. ATC really kind of allowed me to separate what was for event hosting, terrain sort of thing, but also my personal just workspace for hobbying. So that's kind of my goal the next few weeks as we get into our new routine, but is to kind of get my hobby space set up and try to find the time to still be able to do hobby things and also be a new dad. I know that will take up a lot of time, but there's a lot of other dads in this hobby who have given me some pointers, and just like sleep when the baby sleeps, well, sometimes you got to paint when the baby sleeps.
Sounds wise to me, sir.
Yep. So news-wise, we've been kind of in a drought for a while, I will admit, but GW finally gave us at least a little bit of a bone today. So it turns out next week for pre-order, we're going to finally get the Mechanicum Battle Group. So as a reminder, this comes with 2 Castellac, a Triaros Transport, 20 Tech Thralls, and 6 Thalac, all in plastic. And that's going to kind of lead us up into, hopefully, the Schism book coming out within the next couple weeks, maybe the next month or so. If you remember correctly, we had, it's kind of about this time last year was when we were starting to get rumors of the next book coming out. So probably that's coming up soon. We also got the announcement of a Knight Battle Group box set. This is going to contain 1 Castigator and 1 Acheron. That's the Flamethrower and Gatling Gun Knights. Those are both the kind of better Therastus chassis choices. No idea on price for either of these big box sets. For Legions Imperialis, we got the announcement of the Devastation of Talarn book. Campaign book is going to be coming out. Along with that, always, we get the army cards that are coming with that box. A box set of 2 Shadow Sword, Stormblades, or Storm Sword Baneblade variants. On the cover of the book, it is a Shadow Sword. It's a lot more detailed than these little epic-sized models, so it wouldn't be surprised me if we get a plastic announcement of that new resculpted tank soon. And then we're also getting a Leman Russ Executioner and Demolisher Squadron that contains 8 Russ tanks. And the Sakaran Arcus and Punisher Squadron contains 4 Sakarans in a box. And that's all of the official VW pre-orders coming up this week. What do you guys think about those before I move into some of our other oddball news?
I'm excited.
I'm not just excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing those Flash Mechanicum on the tables.
Yep.
It's been a long time coming for the Mechanicum to really get a chance to shine on table in regular stores that are not in resin. People have been asking for this, clamoring for it for years. I know I'm not one of them. I've been satisfied because I'm not a Mechanicum player, but I know that a lot of other ones out there have really been looking forward to this final release. So the fact that it's here makes me overjoyed.
And there's no mirrors in it.
Yeah. Yes, there's more stuff that we could all want in it. There's more stuff we could all want to come along with it. But I'm not going to gripe. I'm not going to complain. I'm glad we got it. And I look forward to more because of this and this being successful. Now, that kind of said, I really wish we had Skitarii. But depending on the reception with this, I'm looking forward to seeing what else Amazon comes out for us in the next little while. I think Heresy's doing well at this point, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There's my speech.
I think Skitarii could come and supplement some of the 30K stuff. I know some of the design cues and some of the Skitarii models don't quite fit. So, their Mechanicum or the Mechanicus robot look a little bit too space age for some of the Mechanicum stuff. And a lot of people don't like the Birdman or don't like the Flyer and some things like that. But I think overall, there's a lot of models in there that could be used. So for the most part, the Skitarii box can be used with some of the Titan Guard. I think there's only 3 guns that come in that box. There's 6 technical different choice weapons in that box, but 3 of them don't have 30K rules yet. As well as the Assassins. I would love for the Rust Stalkers to be in 30K. And maybe even the Dune Crawler and the Higgins Boat and things like that. I think that all of these would be extra ways that you could add flavor to your existing Mechanicum armies or building other ones.
Yeah, the possibilities with all this stuff coming out, with the current GW line, the previous stuff that's been out for a while, and the new stuff we're getting, there's just so much potential that I think could be really awesome.
Well, it's for me and my personal group with a couple of Mechanicum players, it is rewarding to still see the game we love so much just to be continually supported the way it is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and just jump on a bandwagon and say I love everything GW does, because that's most GW players. But
yep.
But the continued releases, the erratas that come out, the mission packs that come out, it's a breath of fresh air from those of us that have been playing this game for years and remember the dark days where we had 1.0 with nothing for a long time. And even if you might not be a Mechanicum player or even an Imperial Fist player, it is still rewarding to know that support is there and that this hobby and this game is still continuing to grow.
Yes. I will wholeheartedly concur with you there. That part definitely feels really nice.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes
like to have seen
remind us with that, but yeah, it's definitely good that we're still getting releases. Go ahead, Brian.
I would have liked to have seen Mechanicum before Solar Ox, but that's just my personal thing.
There are many things I would have liked to have seen, but at this current state we're at, I do not have a current complaint.
I'd like to see an Ultramarines character, but that's just me being a Smurf. So
here, sir. Here.
No,
you're on the right. You're on the right podcast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, okay, yes, there's more things we would like to see. More generic characters for Fisty or Sons of Horus legions. More named character models for the other legions as well. Yes.
But that was
right now, at the moment, I don't have room to gripe. I can make do with the stuff I already have, and I can add to it with the current line and convert as needed, as so many of us have been doing for so many years. So,
I really, really, really want that book that gives us the really gross Death Guard Marines.
Yeah, I want to see that one. I also want to see a new novel. I want to see the beginning of the Scouring. I really want to see that. That's gonna, if that novel series happens, as I think most of us out here are hoping it does. I'm really looking forward to seeing that go on.
Yeah, I would like a cleanup novel or something like that where they could start doing short stories in the post-Heresy or post-Future Terra era, leading up to the Scouring, if they're going to do it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of potential there with the way the final 3 books ended, and they brought a lot of those Dream Team characters, those first chapter masters, into their own little highlight segments, and it'd be interesting to see the beginning of these chapters as they begin to be founded. And so,
yeah, I would be very interested in seeing, in essence, the conclave of everybody being told by Rowboat how to do what they're going to do, and see all the background politicking going on while that's going on, while they're also still trying to hunt the defeated traitors who are running. So it'll be quite the
broken
story.
Dorn.
Yeah, I want to see Dorn get broken in the cage. I really do. That would just make me smile.
You don't want a Scouring novel.
Warm,
You
fuzzy feelings.
You want a Cage novel.
Okay, I want a Cage novel and I want a Scouring. I want a Scouring series of at least 10 books detailing the driving them to the decision that was made to drive them into the eye, rather than chase them into the eye and destroy them. I'd like to see why that decision was made, who made that, things like that.
But
More
one entire
of the
book
tiny answers.
Broken.
Yes, and one entire book. I mean, it could be chapter after chapter of Imperial Fist getting blammed by Century weapons. I'd be fine with that.
Well, you might want to read the Beast novels because they get wiped out twice.
I've read as much of the Beast novels as I could stomach.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. All right, so moving on from GW, we have some other announcements. So unofficially, we've heard that the Horus Command model that was supposed to come to the U.S. So everyone who got their, it seems that everyone we know anyway, and a bunch of Facebook groups that we were a part of, all got their pre-orders canceled.
Every single one. I know mine was.
Yeah. Yours was. Our friend of the show, Jason Tick, his was canceled. A couple of friends that I knew online that had theirs pre-ordered were canceled. It seems that the kind of scuttlebutt going around is that the entire container just didn't get shipped to the U.S. So
yes,
that means we're probably going to get them in part of the second printing. So judging by the time it took Apothecaries to come back in stock, it's probably going to be at least 4 months out.
But there is one currently for $260 on eBay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them for ridiculous prices. No, I'm just not going to pay a regular guy who bought one in England, who can now get them for a normal price and then gouge the Americans and the Australians. I'm just not going to do that.
We'll have our own little tea party again.
Even normal price is kind of expensive on these new characters, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, you're not really wrong.
Other unofficial news. So we've talked before that Joy Toy is pretty good about kind of re-releasing some of their models that go up in value, at least on the secondary market, like Duncan had mentioned with the Horus model. Excuse me. So it seems that they've kind of re-released a lot of the initial Custodian Guard releases, some of the 40K models, their Terminator suits, some of the other models have been re-released. And in the re-release, it looks like they managed to repaint them. So the original Custodians had kind of a bright, almost silverish gold look. It reminds me a lot of the old dry brush paint Griffin gold, if anyone remembers that old GW paint, where it's kind of leaning into silver reflectiveness of the gold highlight. Whereas the current ones are kind of closer to, I would almost say like a 10 bits or something. They're like a really dark gold. Obviously, this isn't game changing or record breaking or anything like that. It's just something to think about if you start rebuying models that you originally bought before. The pre-paints may not match the pre-paints that you had before. So something to kind of think about as you go to buy your G.I. Joe size Marines. Or what we've dubbed as the coolest way to play Kill Team ever.
Yeah. I'm just gonna not make a comment at this moment because no matter how tempting the idea for me still is, and I think it would be awesome to sit there and redo stuff and repaint these things. I just don't have the money or the time, given everything going on, or the inclination even to throw at that, no matter how awesome it does sound.
Yeah, like I said, I've picked up a few for terrain that'd be really cool. I think the Horus especially and some of the Primarchs would be really cool pieces of terrain. Stuff to fight over. And especially with them being posable, you can kind of break them easier and get different poses for the statues out of them, and then fill that in with putty and stuff. Warhammer World has announced they've set up a new diorama out there with, it's basically Skaven versus Stormcast Eternals, but it's built like a giant hive city. So you've got these two 6-foot tall Skaven rat warrens, and then a big V kind of gap between them, and then a bunch of Stormcast kind of fighting on the ground floor. I think it's a really cool diorama to use as inspiration for building, ship-on-ship fights. You've got two ships kind of crossing in the night as they fight each other, or if you want to go crazy and build, underhive or hive cities that break apart. There was that really cool Space Wolf novel where they crashed that ship into the hive city and then had to fight out of the ship wreckage into the hive city and out of that. The really cool effects. They did a Warcom article, they did a YouTube video on it, and they've done a couple other things kind of showing off how this diorama looks. And if you're there in person, it's another cool thing to go look at and take pictures of. Other than that, we've really not had a lot of stuff coming from GW. Obviously, we're kind of spoiled next week coming for pre-orders for all the stuff, the Imperialis and the Mechanicum stuff, but we really don't still have a date on the book release. We don't have a date for the rest of the stuff that was on the timeline that we had from last year. We're still missing the close combat weapon plastic sprue. And I think that was the only thing that was still missing off that.
I think you're right.
That's everything I've got. Duncan, do you want to take us into our main topic?
Well, we have a topic that kind of stemmed from Mason and myself talking back and forth for a little while. And we also have the topic of how we ourselves, as we mentioned last week, would go about possibly running an event, organizing an event, creating an event, a narrative event. But I'm not going to go too delving into that. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and say, Mace, my friend, how are you doing, my friend? How you been?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. Everything. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
So, ATC, American Teams Championships. Primarily, the event's a great big 40K team battle event that's organized somewhat similar to the ETC, the European Team Championships, correct?
To my understanding, yes. It's evolved. It's definitely evolved to now being a nationwide event of them having events across the entire United States throughout the year, and opening up. This year they did an 8-team event or an 8-player team event as well as their traditional 5. So that was really unique. I mean, the hall was really full with gamers 2 weeks ago.
Neat. Full disclosure, Jack and myself actually attended the ATC. What was it, 10 years ago, Jack?
Oh, it was longer than that, baby boy. Because...
No, it must have been. Yeah. Gee, I was...
Yeah.
What was the venue?
It was a mall with a food court
Okay.
that had sunlight beaming down your head. Who used to run ATC or still does?
It was in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Yes. So that was actually, I mean, they still are Dice Head Games up there in Cleveland, Tennessee. Was kind of, I mean, that's where they started growing out of. And then over the years, as the event grew and more players came on board, and it left being the small local regional event to now it's this big national event. With multiple live streaming stations that were set up, a vast group of sponsors from your Frontline Games on the mats to several terrain companies to Army Painter had their display that they shipped in, and we're doing their judging. And guys, we were talking about dioramas just a minute ago. I have never done a full diorama myself. I can't imagine the guys that travel with them. Already traveling with models is already terrifying to me. But there were a lot of really cool dioramas. There was one that really stuck out to me that was it was for a Tau army, and it basically looked like the hangar for a Gundam setup. But yeah, it definitely has grown from they were in a local soccer stadium or indoor arena. They were at the Chattanooga Choo Choo Convention Center to now the past 2 years they've been in the Chattanooga Convention Center, which has been amazing because it's been air conditioned. There's been right. I mean, you put this many of us big bearded men in a small room, it tends to get some funk after a couple days. And so good air conditioning, cleaned bathrooms, multiple cleaned bathrooms. I never had to wait. And I saw many people washing their hands. I know that sounds weird to say, but when I'm having to sit there and share a table with somebody and shake hands and pat people on the back, I wash your hands.
No, I absolutely understand that. Get the Cheeto dust off there and your funk.
Yeah, I mean, and so it was the past 2 years at the Chattanooga Convention Center have been amazing because you've got all the hotels down in downtown Tennessee that are right there, to include the Marriott Convention Center that was there, and then right next door, the Staybridge Hotel. So both of those were full. Oh, and also there was a tattoo convention right next to us. So that was pretty cool, and there were a lot of nerds walking next door getting tattoos throughout the weekend.
Cool. That'd be kind of neat. But about the ATC, it's not just about 40K. They also have had, I know the year we were there, they had a small fantasy thing going on. So I guess that would be AOS. And the past couple of years, they've had Heresy going on.
They have had Heresy.
And you have been running it, or you have taken over running the Heresy event for them?
I have taken over running for a close friend of y'all's, Jake Buzzy, with the Covenant, with his old Covenant of Fire podcast and social media.
Yep.
And he started doing the Heresy stuff less than 10 years ago. I mean, it kind of started as guys that had Heresy armies.
Looking for dudes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it was just after hours, after the ATC was done, and guys still wanted to shoot the breeze, roll a little dice, play with that other expensive resin army they had been building. And it started out with kind of like a handful of dudes, and has now, in the last 3 years of me coming on board just to help facilitate and network it, we've grown into what appears to be a pretty solid event with double-digit numbers. So this past year, we actually we were a little down from the year before. Last year in 2023, we had over 20 players signed up. I think at one point, between some stragglers and friends that could only come in for one day, we had 24, 26 players in 2023. This year, we had 16 players signed up. And part of it, I'll be honest, was, going through a move and a new child, I was not able to give this year my full focus. And I do think that may have limited some of our exposure on things, but also, locally in my group, I'm not disappointed in them at all, but life kind of came up for several of them. And it took what was 5 attendees from last year couldn't make it from our local Chattanooga group. and you sit there and you host an event in your own hometown city, and you hope your friends can make it, but sometimes life just does get in the way of rolling dice. And hopefully next year we'll have those guys back and have an even bigger event.
Okay. So tell us about how the event was laid out, how the event went, what was going on, cool bits about it. This is pretty much all you, sir. Tell us about what went on.
So
other than panicking about the baby.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And definitely I shared that with Duncan more than once. But it all worked out. It really did. And so ATC took place July 12th and 13th for the Heresy side. The overall event was the 12th through the 14th. We were, as soon as you came in the main convention hall, we were dead center. So everyone had to walk past us. And the one thing about Heresy, I mean, you guys have seen this at LVO, at Adepticon, Houston. The tables always look so much more detailed and dynamic than what you're getting in the current 40K competitive scene. And so all of these players, from Star Wars Legions to Kill Team to the 40K event, I mean, they're all having to walk past our tables that my group here in town put a lot of work into, and a lot of love and some coin as well to make them what they are. And they're always a work in progress. But to me, that really just highlights the fun narrative side of things, and having cool dynamic tables go with them. So we got started on Friday about noon. Guys have started rolling in. I mean, I get it. It's Friday. Guys getting off work, traveling, that sort of thing. And so we started open play with some ZM going on. And then just as guys came in, find a guy and start rolling dice. And we had some missions laid out, like if you wanted to run, or you just pick something out of the book just to kind of get the Heresy juices flowing. And then as the day progressed and as we started to get a full group, we moved into the contender cage match that the folks up at Music City Heresy had started a few years ago. Then finished up Friday with a ZM Mega Battle. I mean, Zone Mortalis, I mean, I love it. It's something that I don't get to play often. Fortunately, I've been able to get a table, set up a table for us here locally so we can start doing it a little bit more. But you start getting guys from out of town that they've never played ZM. They've only read about it or they've seen battle reports of it. And so, I mean, getting 10, 12 armies on a table, guys across from each other, fighting through the maze and the doorways and the shenanigans of ZM, it really just brought some laughter and some colorful language and just some excitement to these guys' gameplay that they hadn't got to experience before. And to me, that was awesome.
Oh my goodness, at a Heresy thing?
Right.
I am
at
shocked.
A gaming event, right?
Yeah.
But it was just exciting to see these players get to play something they didn't get to play before or often, and experience something new and just have a good time over it. Myself as an EO, and then also Blake Hayes from the Bama Heresy group, we both got a table. We were able to get in and roll some dice ourselves, just to help fill out the sides that evening, and that was just fun. I mean, Blake was running around throwing shenanigans into the mega battle, killing guys off. Oh, all of a sudden the rubble shakes and debris falls from the ceiling. Every unit take a D6 strength 7 something type of hit. And you've got guys that are shrugging it off, no big deal, or an individual that lost half attack squad because he rolled a bunch of ones. I mean, it's those kind of little fun little narrative things that, to me, you don't really see or have during your regular just open play with your buddies at home. And so, I mean, it just made for a little bit more dynamic gameplay. Right. Then we wrapped up Friday evening, rolled over into Saturday. Saturday we did a team setup again. So 2v2 games. Blake Hayes, again from down in the Bama Heresy group, he was my go-to when it came for some creative narrative missions, and also was going to be the backup in case my wife randomly went into labor.
Makes sense. I mean, especially given how soon after the ATC she did.
Oh my God. Prayers were answered. Blessings to the Messiah, however you want to put it. I was able to attend, and that was a huge stress going into it, and then a weight lifted. But Blake had some really cool missions set up for Saturday that we were really fortunate. Sometimes you go to these events and guys only want to play attrition type games. They're just going for the win, or they're just trying to get the victory points and that such. But these guys at ATC, they played the campaign missions. They went after the objectives he had set up, and that was awesome to see him like, okay, I might not get that actual objective, but if I do this, this, and this, I can get these extra campaign points, which helps us overall into the next mission. And that was just cool to see guys actually buying into the narrative side of things. I mean, that's what I love. I know a lot of us in the Heresy world, we really do like that narrative gameplay. And Blake's missions and shenanigans he had for him really played up to that.
Okay.
So we had a lot of cool armies. I was impressed with the spread. We had, 2,000 Suns, 2 Mechanicum. Mechanicum's getting some love from GW right now, but we had 2 guys out there with their piles of resin. And those sexy toasters, they did some work. Sons of Horus player who just new to Sons of Horus, been a Death Guard guy for a while, but he cranked out a Sons of Horus army because the Old World event ended up not panning out that he wanted to play in. So he cranked out a Sons of Horus army in the weeks leading up and was able to be a part of this. And I was really happy he could make it. But from Blood Angels to Night Lords to Alpha Legion, my Ultramarines, Blake's Raven Guard, Emperor's Children, and Salamander's army. We actually had a very young player, one of our local guys, Bo. He's been getting his 8-year-old son into Heresy, and he had done an entire Salamander's army and was able to bring his son on Friday afternoon for the open play in the ZM side of things, and kind of coach him, really do a lot of the work. But when it came to the dice rolling, some of the decision making, Bo let his son make those type of decisions and stuff. But then on Saturday, Bo turned that Salamander's army into a walking inferno of hate.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just an overall great experience. Having these guys come in from Alabama, from Tennessee, from Georgia. We had some guys from Illinois last year that unfortunately couldn't get the time off to fly down. Hopefully next year they'll be able to make it in. And then of course our friends from Kentucky, and I think some life things got in the way as well. And we didn't get to see you guys, but always looking forward to the next event that you guys can be participants at. Well, I do, if you don't mind, I do want to give a quick shout out to some of the supporters that helped us.
No, please do.
With this event. This year's prize support was, it was unreal. I think we had more prize support than what guys paid in tickets. So, first off to Dice Head and Grand Adventures, Dice Head in Cleveland and Grand Adventures up in Murfreesboro. I've been putting on the ATC event together. And then really they came through on some prize support for us to include some Solar Ox stuff, some Alcador tanks, a Solar Ox squad, a Heavy Sentinel. And then we had Game On in Chattanooga hooked us up with a huge bag of Citadel paint pots that we were able to break up in individual, kind of group them together in like 6 or 7 pots a piece. And I want to say most everyone left with some type of paint or related product, because then Army Painter, being a primary sponsor of ATC this year, also hooked up all of the individual events from us to Legion, to Kill Team, everybody. They gave us an entire speed paint set and a wet palette set. Then from there, Shadow's Edge does the grass tufts. They dropped off about a dozen of those little boxes of grass tufts. So I'm pretty sure almost everyone walked away with one of those. And then our individual groups. Comic City up in Madison, Tennessee. Travis up there came through with a Cerastus Knight. That's a $200 model that was sent down as a prize support to include a Mark IV command squad and a Dracosan armored transport. So,
wow.
like I said, that we go to these events, we look forward to having a good time, having some cold ones with friends, fun battles and stuff. But we don't always expect to walk away with something cool. And what was really exciting was some of these guys from Alabama and even locally that hadn't gotten to do an ATC or an Adepticon or anything like this before. Everyone was able to walk away with some great swag. Some custom tokens and dice that were given to us. My dad's leather company did some dice trays with our Scenic City Heresy logo in them. So anyone who didn't have a dice tray got to go home with a custom dice tray. And then, of course, these awesome guys up in Kentucky hooked us up with a great handful of posters of various heresy traitors and loyalists, and don't trust Erebus ever. Don't trust that guy. But yeah, so I mean, that was exciting just to have this table full of swag and everyone coming up. And of course, the 40K players coming by saying, y'all get this? This is for y'all's event? Y'all are just like in the corner. And to be able to have that excitement from our players and be able to everyone walk away with, God, essentially their ticket, if not more, in prize support. I mean, that means a lot to me for everyone that supported us and donated or gave things or sent stuff or just shared the event. I mean, everyone really came together, and just like all these events that take place, I mean, the old saying, it takes a village. I mean, I did not do this on my own. I mean, Bama Heresy, Blake down there putting his group together, Music City Heresy, Michael up there and his group, they sent their Zone Mortalis table down, which, I mean, so many of you guys have played on. You guys know how well and put together and painted that table is. Yep. So, I mean, being able to have those things, yeah, I mean, it just helps enhance the gameplay and the environment that these guys are paying, traveling to come to. And I always want to make sure that my guests are having a good time and they walk away with something in their pocket that they enjoyed their experience. And that's the kind of experience that they're going to tell someone else about to bring them into the hobby.
And that's what we all want. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy ourselves, but we also want other people to come into the hobby and enjoy the game and the community with us.
Absolutely. I mean, and then, I mean, listening to the 40K guys, so many of them walking by, just looking at our tables and our army saying, man, I wish our edition was this cool. I wish our tables looked this cool. And you sit there and you're like, on one side, you get that warm and fuzzy feeling like, oh, awesome, that's great. And on the other side, it's like me being a salesman. It's like, well, hey, man, have you ever heard of the Horus Heresy and the War Master and the Emperor? These guys you've heard about in 40K? Well, now you can come play them and have a great time and not stress out over a competition. So it's always fun. We've picked up a couple players over the years from the 40K side of things that grow tired with the competitive scene, and it's always fun for them to be on the Heresy side looking over thinking, man, I don't miss that.
Did any of the people who were walking by decide to plunk down and maybe play or join you all?
Well, with the way things are laid out, and also with the way the ATC and the timing that they had, I mean, there really wasn't much time for 40K players just to do anything else. They had their lunch breaks, their bathroom breaks, but I mean, they were paying their expensive ticket to get their 7, 8, 9 games in or something. So there really wasn't time. I mean, there's always those handful of guys that are like, oh, I'd love to do this next year. And then they sign up for the 40K again because they like pain and suffering. But they might make great Emperor's Children players. So, but it's always that invite is there to them. I mean, it's we always try to encourage them or hang out for a few minutes during their break, watch, ask questions. I mean, the one thing I've noticed about Heresy is that we're never hesitant to talk about our army or what Heresy is or what we're doing or what inspired us. I mean, you can go up to almost any Heresy player and be like, hey, ask them a question, and they will spend 30 minutes just word bombing on you about their army. And so, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. So I mean, it's always exciting when those guys could stop by, and there were quite a few. And then there were the ones that like, man, I wish my edition was like this. Well, come play. I can't get a new army, or no, I'm fine, thanks. So, to each their own.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of the way it is sometimes.
So, I mean, for next year, I mean, Blake and I have already kind of been discussing. I'm a former military guy, so in my mind, it's always doing an AAR. And Blake and I, we hashed out some things that worked out for us this year, and then also some things that we didn't necessarily care for, or we'd like to change for next year. Like, for example, like next year, going back to singles-based games. You know, if we do that and we have a large player pool, we get up into the 20s or more, then that does put an extra burden on myself as an organizer, and relying on the other people in the other communities of what support they can give of terrain. I mean, it does take a lot of tables to have an event. The team's setup definitely worked in having to limit how many tables we had. I think those of you that were at the last NashCon event 2 years ago, you remember that Michael and them, they had over 20 tables set up. That's a huge
we had
burden.
people at every single table.
And we did, and it was fun, it was loud, it was chaos and everything, but it does take a lot of effort getting all of that together, the logistics of getting all of that material there and set up. So, I mean, just kind of looking at next year of how we can manage that, how we can grow. I mean, a hobby's not going to grow, a hobby's not going to stay active if we don't have people like you guys, like these individual groups in Nashville and Bama and Chattanooga, putting on events and encouraging players out. So I'm excited for next year to see what changes we can bring, and also like what things people liked. I mean, the cage match that NashCon started, people like it. It's crazy. It's a battle royale of just chaos, and it's quick, it's dirty, and but things like that. I mean, maybe we might do something else instead, a Primarch battle. We've all sat there and rolled the dice with our Primarchs and seen who's won before, but maybe a first captain or a custom character or something. Unique things to kind of spice it up and change things, so it's not the always show up to the table, roll dice.
Yeah. I know that you all, or NashCon used to do the Contemptor cage match. Did you all do that, or did you do something somewhat different?
No, I took it straight from them. I won't lie on that. I picked Michael and Greg's brain on how they ran that, to the point of even though I had everything written down, I still called Michael Wooten up in Nashville like 30 minutes beforehand. I'm like, I know I have this written down. Walk me through it, because I don't want to look stupid. I mean, and kind of behind the scenes side of like running any type of event is, you do need to step back, run your idea off somebody, because you don't want to stand up there in front of these people that have paid money to come to it and not be able to answer their questions, not be able to give clear guidance to the rules, everything, because you don't want to get halfway through a game, whether it's a regular just open day of playing or anything, and the players not know what to do, or something happened that may have not been clearly explained earlier, and that drastically changed someone's experience. So, but yeah, it was the exact same kind of cage match as them. I mean, Mega ZM battle. I mean, there's not really much you can do different for a game like that, except throw in some fun narrative things. But again, it's something that people don't get to play often. So you do it at Adepticon, you do it at Houston, you did it here at ATC. I mean, but those are things people look forward to as well, because they know they're not going to get to do that back home.
Okay. Of the event overall, what was your favorite moment that you saw go on during the event?
Oh man, that's tough. There were a lot of fun moments. There were definitely some moments, like I mentioned, the Emperor's Children player had an entire ceiling drop on attack squad, and from the other side of the table, I'm like, I'm really glad that wasn't me, and I was able to roll those 3 ups. But Yeah, I don't know. There were just a lot of different moments, but there wasn't. Okay, here's one. Watching an 8-year-old player get very excited to roll dice and make armor saves with a bunch of grown men, and those grown men be accepting of this new kid and encouraging of him and letting him play his first time. And then he got a couple cool swag things as well that were just, I mean, they made his day. But watching the excitement in his face and him have a good time, and then all the other people like, oh, this kid's playing. We're like, yeah, he is. Yeah, we've created a safe and encouraging environment to a degree. But being able to, I mean, watch this kid play and have fun, that was probably my most enjoyable moment and most exciting moment. I mean, and there were still times where, I mean, he was also an 8-year-old little boy and dad had to rein him in and stuff, but he got to have fun, and that's an experience that he's going to remember for years, and he'll be able to look back at his very first ATC and first Heresy moment in 3-4 years when he's onto, and then him and his dad are onto a new army or something, and he's hopefully still playing and in the hobby. So yeah, that was my exciting moment.
Okay. Anything that you can think of that you would immediately change going forward?
Immediately change going forward. I think I kind of mentioned on it. But for next year, I think we are going to go to like a singles. Several people, they understood the concept of doing teams for the terrain management, but also doing team games allows you to interact with multiple people, where if you're only getting to play 3 games on one day, 2 or 3 on the next game, then you're not really getting to interact with a lot of the attendees. And I know that the social aspect of these events is something that a lot of people look forward to, and when you're playing, you don't always get that. But a lot of people also commented that with the team games and the times, I mean, Heresy, I mean, with newer players, we had several newer players from Alabama, but it definitely, the skill level wasn't quite there on some of the rules and the expediting the game. So going back to maybe the singles of kind of bringing the points back down in some areas, those are going to be some immediate changes. And then at that point, I mean, you can say hi to your friends across another table or between breaks and stuff. But that's going to be an immediate change for next year. And just also because we've done it 2 years in a row. It'd be nice to go back to singles and stuff, because it does open up the door for like some of those grudge matches to happen. I mean, we sit here in our Facebook groups and our group chats, and we talk smack to each other and about all the Imperial Fist characters and stuff. And we've got friends from other areas that we want to play. And so doing a singles thing does allow some of that creativity and narrative aspect with a grudge match thrown in there for someone as well.
Okay. Is there, you think, any possibility of it expanding size-wise? I don't know if I mean just like to more days of gaming, or if also it means more tables worth of gaming. Obviously, the tables part would kind of depend on how big the event grows, ticket sales wise.
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about, I think I'm talking about more games across more days, if that makes sense. Is there any intention of doing that?
I'm not against that. I've when I first kind of took over, I kind of just kept doing some of the similar concepts that Jake had originally started, because I mean, he had things going as an after hours type of thing for that half day Friday, full day Saturday. But now that the event is growing and does have the kind of traction of double digit numbers, and if we can get up in the 20s, or God, imagine, I don't know how, I mean, with me doing this, I don't know how I'd imagine even 30 players. That, to me, that's a lot. But I look at these events that have significantly more. Some of it comes into the networking aspect of certain groups banding together to support an event like this. I would like to have more tables myself at an event like this, but it does involve more players. And if the player community, the people that have been attending, they want to do a Sunday, we have that availability based upon the partnership and the venue with ATC. It's just been simply doing it the Friday and Saturday. Also, I mean, it is a time commitment for myself, and then the people that help me out on it. So if doing a Friday, Saturday, Sunday is something that players are interested in, then I don't see anything why we couldn't. There's nothing stopping us from doing a Sunday event. But I also know since players aren't paying the hundreds of dollars for the ticket fee and therefore the competitive side of things, and they tend to see like a trip to Chattanooga as more of also like, oh, when I'm done playing, I'm going to go have a day of vacation as well. But I mean, there's nothing stopping us from having an additional Sunday of gaming if people are interested before they drive back home. And obviously, I mean, just like any other event, if you can't make something, then you can't make something. I think one thing that I would need to hash out with the ATC coordinators is potentially separating tickets. I know some events you pay for what you want to do, such as I believe like LVO and Adepticon, you pay for the event you want to do. If you just want to play one game, you play one game, but you've got the rest of the con to go to. So, I mean, it's definitely looking at something like that, but it also would depend on the amount of people that are interested in doing that too.
Okay. Anybody else got questions for him?
No, it sounds like a really cool event.
It does. One simple thing. Do you know if there's any plans for another Music City Heresy to go on? Because I know that all of us who have attended that have loved it, and we wish it would come back.
I know that it is something that Michael, I mean, obviously they've invested a lot into gaining the terrain, the tables, I mean, all of that. And so it's not something that they're wanting to just give up on. I think the timing in some of their lives this past year did not necessarily allow that. I know for 2023, we kind of combined resources for that, and it was kind of billed as a Music City Heresy goes to Chattanooga, and they kind of did some of the actual the running of the event and putting together the missions. I hope that they do. I mean, I've talked to Michael a lot about it. I think both him and his guys and his close group, I think they just couldn't work out this year. And I also think there was some communication between them and the facilitators of NashCon on trying to get something lined up. I know last year for 2023, for example, there was a staffing change at NashCon that by the time they did get around to reaching out to the Music City Heresy, it was already too late in the year, and we had already started planning for ATC. And then again, like 2024, just life kind of got in the way. I know Michael with his job had been traveling a lot and also built and moved into a house. So I do hope that they can start planning for something for next year. I mean, like you and I have talked, Duncan. I mean, same thing with Michael and like also with Blake. I mean, there's the hope of wanting to grow events and making things happen, but it also takes that physical time from a person to coordinate.
And all of us are grown and adults and have lives and careers. And yes, no, I think every single one of us here understands that.
So, I do think they will return. Maybe to NashCon. I don't know on that aspect because I'm not part of that conversation. But I do believe that they want to try to do something again for 2025.
That'd be cool. Look forward to hearing more about that from them. Maybe we can reach out to them soon. Okay. I don't think there's any other questions. Any possibility of? I know there's a limited narrative to what you had going on. Do you have any plans to expand on that narrative going into next year?
So that's something Blake and I, we've in our after action review, we're kind of talking about. Blake's kind of been working on his own narrative down in Alabama, and he was able to incorporate ATC into that. The narrative I had been running had been the Seneca campaign that Jake had started prior to me coming on. And just for the ease of things, I kind of kept that same concept and gone back and reviewed some of his narrative stuff and kind of wrapped it up last year. Because, I mean, being able to play into like a lot of the COVID stuff from the past few years, was able to turn that into some fun little narrative things. But I think this next year, Blake and I are going to try to come out with some new narrative stuff, especially with, I mean, his energy and output and him and I's ability and networking. I think we can kind of just come up with something new and creative that isn't pulling from someone else and is more our own and can be tailored to between our groups in Chattanooga and hopefully some of the guys down in the North Georgia, Atlanta area. It'd be cool to try to have some type of narrative that connects some of these cities together. I think last year, the narrative, we did tie some of the Nashville's narrative into the Seneca narrative that we had, because Seneca, Scenic City, I see what Jake did there years ago. But yeah, I think there's definitely the possibility of some new narrative stuff coming out, and hopefully being able to tie that together with some other groups.
Okay. Well, if there's anything we can do, more posters, including the new ones that we're working on for this year, or anything beyond that, please just reach out to us. I know we would all be happy to assist in any way we can.
Well, the posters I will say for the 40K players, I had them lined out for display and stuff. That was one of the things the 40K players came by and they're like, "Holy crap, this is awesome!" And of course, you point out and they're like, "Hey, it's a Heresy Accountability Buddies." I was like, "Go find them on Facebook. They have a podcast. Check them out." I was like, "Join Heresy. It's amazing." So the posters were a big hit. I mean, and definitely, I mean that little type of promotional detail, I mean, that does go a long way. And when you've got amazing artwork like you've got on those posters, it just, again, it enhances things. I mean, when you've got the coordinators of ATC coming up and they're like, "Hey, do you have an extra that I can put up in my store at Dice Head or Grand Adventures?" And you're like, "Yeah, here, if you're going to put it up in the store, here's one, please take it." So that was really cool to be able to give those away to some of the 40K players that really seemed interested, and also the ATC coordinators. And so hopefully I see them in the stores next time I'm in there.
That would be awesome. If you do me a favor, snap a picture of it. We'll put it up on our Facebook.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I can't think of any other questions to ask you at this moment, sir. So, anyone else got anything?
Got nothing.
Bueller?
Nothing.
John?
Nothing here.
Well, guys, thank you so much for letting me talk about our event. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and it definitely came together at the last minute for me. And if you have any questions or want to know more about the Heresy scene in Chattanooga, you can find us at our private Facebook page of Scenic City Heresy. If you're in the Alabama area and you want to know more about what's going on in Birmingham and Huntsville, Montgomery, you can find them on Facebook at Bama Heresy. And then if you're in the Middle Tennessee area or the Nashville, then you can check in on the Music City Heresy Facebook page as well. All three of those groups are active, with guys playing every weekend, putting on events to include some upcoming events that each of those groups have going on.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And shout out to all of you all for doing that and putting on an awesome event. It sounds like it was really well received, and we're always glad to hear that.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Any plans personally for you to maybe go to hit any events this year or next year beyond your own?
Well, I had every intention of Adepticon for this year, but the little one and buying a house kind of threw a wrench into any big traveling like that outside of a family vacation.
Both of us were a lot more important.
I mean, my wife would definitely agree on that. But I definitely want to get out to some of those events. I'd love to go to Adepticon. Maybe not LVO for me personally. I've been to Vegas a few times, and maybe I'd go as a just a participant con member, but I don't think I'd want to travel with models all the way to Vegas. I wouldn't mind going to Houston. I've heard a lot of positive things about that event and the coordinators there, to include a couple of them that were, I believe, playing in the 40K Heresy event. So that was pretty cool. They came by and checked things out, and they were all decked out in their Texas swag. And then locally, I believe the next regional event for myself is down in Alabama. Blake and the Bama Heresy group, they are putting on an event August 24th, I believe, down there. I'm hoping to be able to travel to that, and we're working on trying to get something together. Some guys from Chattanooga and Birmingham area travel over to Atlanta to go play with some of the Atlanta guys over at the Gigabytes Cafe store. If you haven't been there, that's an amazing store to go play at, or at least just walk in and poke around. And I believe Music City Heresy, or there's one of the stores up there that is going to be having a event next weekend, I believe, or so.
Is that
Hopefully we get to
weekend
something
in
like
August?
that. I believe it's the first weekend of August. I'm not 100% sure on the date for that. And by the time this comes out, it might be too late for anyone anyways. But I know the August one, August 24th down in Alabama is going to be the next kind of regional thing, heresy-wise, anyone's putting on that I'm aware of. But beyond that, hopefully next year, besides ATC again, I can try to travel and see some of you guys either Texas or up in wherever they have Depticon next year. But Milwaukee?
I believe it's Milwaukee now.
Yeah, Milwaukee. So yeah, probably won't make the Milwaukee one, but the goal is for the one after that. So
there we go. Well, I don't think we have too much else left to discuss then. So, John, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. So thanks everybody for joining us on the 91st episode of Heresy the Accountabilibuddies Podcast. As Duncan mentioned at the beginning of the show, we still do have our contest running. We've got to get entries in before episode 99. So episode 99 is the cutoff, so that on episode 100 we can give away our Into the Death Volume 3 Collector's Edition book. All you've got to do is join our Discord and post in the contest channel what your favorite section was that we've covered this year. But you can go so far as I liked it when you guys talked about all the blue painting you did, or if there's one of the coverages you like, such as today talking about the ATC, just post in there. And I think you were going to say something there, Duncan?
Yeah, I was going to say we might want to actually mention what it is we're giving away for that, and how long, or what it is. Sorry, I'll just start over. Mention what it is we're giving away, and probably put together a post about it on our Facebook page as well.
Yep, we're giving away the Heresy Into the Death Volume 3 Collector's Edition. So, leather-bound fancy book signed by the Abnett. And if you're a patron, you get an extra entry for free as long as you already enter through the posting your favorite thing.
Yep.
We'll put a Facebook post out this weekend, and then I guess anybody else got anything else before we close it out?
Not that I can.
Congratulations again.
Yeah.
So congratulations again to Mr. Mace on investing in Heresy so hard that he's raising a new player up.
Yep.
Oh, that terrifies me on what army he might end up playing one day.
I just hope it's
Word
proper.
bearers.
Yes.
Oh God, don't do that to me.
Yes, he wants Erebus right now.
But I love my
You
child.
play Ultramarines, it's only fair.
I mean,
I guess
you've raised your own nemesis. It fits.
Not gonna lie, the other day I was flipping through one of the black books, and my youngest pointed to the word bearers. He's like, "I really like that one." I was like, "Okay, we're done with this for now. We got some education that needs to happen here."
Yep.
That's medication.
Oh,
What's he going to be? Emperor's Children?
Ooh, I wouldn't wish that curse on any newborn. Just my personal opinion there. One final thing I think we should mention. For the next few weeks, we are going to be sporadic in our episodes being produced. August is looking to be rather busy for almost all of us. We will have limited time to actually record, but we will try to get a couple episodes out in August. Please, no one think we're going away, because we are not. We are just going to have to not record quite as often for the next month or so. We promise we're still going to be here. We're still going to be around, and we're still going to be running everything as best we can. And we are still going to have our regularly scheduled Wednesday night hangouts on the Discord. I think that's about it. So, John, go ahead and tap us out, my man.
Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on the 91st episode of Heresy ATC Recap. I'm John. I've been joined by
Ryan.
Duncan.
Jack.
Mace.
And always remember to stay accountable to yourselves, your buddies, and to your hobby. And we'll talk to you again next time. Thanks, everybody.
There you go.
Like and subscribe, and see ya.